When I set out to complete a Pokemon Yellow Challenge Dex, I knew that a few painful playthroughs were in my future: Weedle, Ditto, and Abra. So today's the day to tackle the first one of them, albeit the easiest. Here are the rules for my playthrough. I've also left a detailed copy of them in the description so that you can reference them later. Now I'll explain why this run is going to be so painful, and it isn't because of Abra's base stats. Well, not entirely. While 25 HP, 20 attack, and 15 defense are terrible even for a first stage Pokemon, it has a massive 105 special and a respectable 90 speed. That's the best base special of any stage 1 Pokemon in Generation 1, and it's tied for third in speed with Ponyta, Pikachu, Poliwag, and Meowth. Abra additionally is the Psychic type, and this typing alone gives it a good advantage in Generation 1. It has immunity to ghost attacks due to a programming error, and a weakness to bug moves, of which there are only 2 trainers in the game that I regularly fight that actually have bug moves. One of which I won't be fighting today, so yeah. Also, the bug moves are just awful. So with a great special and speed stat and an awesome typing, why is Abra going to be a painful run? Well, are you ready? It's Abra's Level Up Learn set. It's not actually a set, it's a move. A single move. Teleport. It only learns Teleport. Nothing else. Now, it does learn moves through TM and HM, but there aren't any of these available until obtaining the Boulder Badge. So I think you're probably starting to get a sense of why this is going to be so awful. Making things worse, this move pool only contains one special move. Psychic. While it is a powerful same-type move, it means that I'll have to defeat at least Misty to make it to Saffron City before I get use of its best offensive stat. I expect things to go very slowly before that, and I mean very slowly. Because of this, I predict that Abra is going to be my worst performing Pokemon yet through the game. Needless to say, I lose against the rival in the lab today. There's no way to win this one with only Teleport. At least without Eevee Gen 1 missing on every single turn and then surviving the recoil damage from Struggle. After my loss, I journey out onto Route 1 and utilize every wild battle to use 1 PP of Teleport. I need to deplete this as fast as possible, so that I can actually start gaining experience. This is actually the only way that I can level up. Also, it's the only way that my frail Psychic Cat with awful HP, defense, and attack is going to be able to beat Brock's rock-solid team. I will be truly surprised if Abra is somehow able to beat Tangela's atrocious 1 hour and 19 minute Brock split. There's just no way that should be possible. Anyways, let's see how things pan out. In order to prolong Abra's use of Struggle as a training method, I'm going to use all my money to buy potions, and then I collect every single free potion from the early game. There are 6 of these, and here's where they're located. In the PC, on Route 1 from the Mart employee, on this tree, 2 in Pokeballs in the forest, and 1 hidden in front of the mandatory bug catcher. While collecting all of these, I skip all the trainers to ensure that I don't black out and reset Abra's Teleport PP. Another important item in here is the free Pokeball and the antidote that's hidden. I don't actually want these to use them, I need to sell them for money. After I've depleted Teleport's PP, I begin my training. I want to find exclusively Metapod to knock out so that they can't lower Abra's health. That means every hit point that I spend on Struggle is a useful hit point that I'm gaining experience from. If I was, say, taking damage from Tackle, then I would be losing health for no reason. I made a spreadsheet to calculate the experience per hit point in the early game, and level 6 Metapod are the best to fight out of any Pokemon. But because time's of the essence and I'm not always facing Metapod, I also knock out any level 4s that I come across. It takes me 15 minutes to level up to level 11. At that point, I think I'm ready to take on the first trainer, so I save in front of the first bug catcher, and I attempt the fight. If I fail in this fight, I'm going to reset so that I can train more with my PP still depleted, instead of having to spam out Teleport again. Struggle is doing enough to knock out each of these Caterpie in 3 hits. I get past the first one with above half health, Abra levels up, giving it more health, and that makes the second Caterpie easy to knock out even though it uses Tackle once. Now, when I use potions, I need to be really careful that I'm not wasting extra healing potential. I want each one to heal as many hit points as possible. Because of that, I have to train on some wild Metapod before taking on the next trainer. This process is taking so long. Eventually I battle the next trainer. It's the same strategy here, save in front of him and hope that I have enough health to survive the recoil damage. Luckily this guy has 2 Metapods, so there's less risk of taking damage. With only 2 bug catchers defeated, my Abra is now level 13, and I have 17 minutes on the clock. Unfortunately, I only have 1 potion left, so it's time to head back to Viridian City. Here, I sell the antidote and the Pokeball for money, and then I head west where the optional rival will challenge me. In Generation 1, there's actually a little known fact that the player can obtain 5 free Pokeballs from Professor Oak. However, to obtain these, 3 specific conditions have to be met. 1. The player has no Pokeballs in their inventory. I don't, I sold it. 2. The player can only have 1 Pokemon in their Pokedex, and in this case I do, it's only Abra. 3. The optional rival has to have been defeated. So essentially the conditions to get these Pokeballs are just that the player has to not understand how to play the game. They have to wander around, do everything except catch a Pokemon or obtain Pokeballs, and then in their desperation, they need to head back to Professor Oak and talk to him. I think that there's a reason that not many people know about these. Today, I want these Pokeballs really desperately because I can sell them for 500 Pokedollars, but the only way to get them is by defeating the rival here. So let's try it. You'll notice that I'm going into this fight with lower than perfect health, and that's because I don't want to heal a single hit point with a potion. Spearow's first, and it's a tough opponent for Abra to face. That's because it knows Peck, Leer, and Growl. Struggled as a third, Leer lowers my already awful 13 defense to 8, Abra crits Spearow into the red, and then with its last attack Spearow uses Growl, lowering my attack stat. Yuck. Eevee's next. I get another critical hit, high base speed is really nice, Eevee uses Sand Attack, my next struggle does so little, and then a single tackle takes Abra to 1 hit point. Recoil damage ends the battle. I need these Pokeballs, I really want to win, I do not want to have to spam out Teleport every time I want to knock out Pokemon. But apparently this fight is incredibly hard, and that's because Spearow, it can use Peck, and if it even uses it once, then I don't have enough hit points left over to struggle the Eevee down. And this continues with Eevee. If it uses Tackle, I lose because there aren't enough hit points remaining. So there are only 2 paths forward in the game. Either I heal at the center and I train, spamming Teleport out and healing every single time my health is lower, or I make it past both Spearow and Eevee in a fight where neither of them deals damage. I want to delay having to deplete Teleport over and over and over again as long as is humanly possible, so I'm going to try for the victory in this fight. So while the footage plays, let's all guess how many attempts this took me to do. There's no skill here, I'm just spamming struggle, waiting for luck to align so that I can get the 5 most desperately desired Pokeballs of all time. As you figure out your guesses, I want to talk about something. When I started making videos on this channel, my first one was Butterfree, and I was worried that no one would watch it because Butterfree is honestly pretty strong in comparison to Pokemon like Abra and Ditto. It's been really refreshing discovering a community of people who are just like me, excited to see playthroughs of the game with every Pokemon. Sometimes because we love a particular creature, or because we think it's strong and going to perform well, or maybe because we think it's going to be an extreme challenge, like today's playthrough. I love making these, and I'm so excited every time I get to sit down at my computer and start the journey through the game all over again with a new Pokemon. They teach me about their strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully I teach you a little bit about them from my mistakes, challenges, and some of my victories. But today, things are feeling a bit different. I was excited going into this. I knew that it was going to be hard, but the excitement really wore off during this fight against the rival. Reset after reset wore me down, and in the end, I finally managed to win after 28 failed attempts. I'm just going to insert this in here. After reviewing the footage and editing the video, I realized that, I could actually just lose to the Eevee and take the experience from the Spearow for each one of these fights. I think that would probably be faster. Anyways, let's get back to it. While it feels great to win, the really defeating thing is that after all this work, I only have enough money to buy 1 more potion. Well, I didn't actually grab the Pokeballs yet. After selling them, I can buy 2 more potions. And that's that. After these are gone, the true grind begins. Well, that's not entirely true, because there are still 4 trainers remaining to defeat. First, I battle a bug catcher. He has a level 8 Caterpie and Metapod. All random NPC's Pokemon are the same level, by the way. Unfortunately, he's a bit too much for Abra to manage. Good thing I'm being careful and saving before each battle. I defeat him on my next attempt. Then I defeat the mandatory bug catcher. He's easier because he only has a single Pokemon. After that, I backtrack to the lass at the start of the forest. Her Nidoran female has Growl, so I want to be careful here. She's a yellow version exclusive trainer, by the way, and that's why you might not have seen her before. For the longest time, I didn't actually know she existed. After reading comments on Gengar vs Alakazam, all of you let me know about her, so I'm glad that I can use her now to gain a little bit extra experience and money. With these trainers defeated, I'm able to buy 1 more potion, extending my training slightly, but the inevitable moment has come. I use the last potion, and my Abra's only level 15. I finish my training when Abra's HP is low, and then I head to Pewter City to heal at the Pokemon Center for the first time in the run. I did this instead of blackout so that my warp point will be set here instead of in Pallet Town. Money has been really important in this run up until now, but at this point, it's irrelevant. I need to employ another tactic. To set it up, I deplete all of Teleport's PP on wild Pokemon south of Pewter City. Now, it's time to face the Light Years Junior Trainer in Brock's gym. Struggle does enough damage to knock the Diglett out and gain experience, but it can't manage to get past Sandshrew. This is advantageous because I can repeat this sequence over and over until Abra's at a level where Struggle will allow me to knock Sandshrew out. Trainers give more experience than wild Pokemon, and they also have higher level Pokemon, so I think that this is gaining me more experience than it would be if I was just training in the wild. Also making this advantageous is the fact that the battle intro animation plays fewer times and it renders less text on screen, knocking out all the Pokemon. When I finally black out, Abra's also healed and I'm teleported back to the grass where I need to deplete Teleport again. You will notice here that my reset counter is tracking blackouts as well, because I think that that's fair in this situation. It's basically whenever the Pokemon is defeated in some way, then that counter increases. Maybe I should label it the fails counter. When I record these playthroughs, I actually have it set up so that whenever I press the reset cartridge button on my emulator, the reset counter actually automatically increments as well. This led to a situation where I forgot to increment it once when I blacked out. Don't worry, I actually realized this, and before proceeding too far, I corrected it. At level 17, Abra knocks Sandshrew out, and that brings an end to this type of training. I've spent 50 minutes getting Abra here. However, I might be able to continue this strategy if I can knock Brock's Geodude out. To get a sense for how close Abra is to doing this, I give Brock an attempt. Now, in Red and Blue, Brock's Geodude is level 12, and as a result it knows Defense Curl. But in Yellow, it only knows Tackle, and I think this makes things much harder. At level 17, I don't even get halfway through my enemy's HP before Abra goes down. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna be here for a very, very long time. Now let me address the idea about using a multiple of game speed here, so say 8 times speed. If that was the case, why don't I just multiply the real-time result that I got at 8 times speed by 2, and that would give me the time that I would spend at 4 times doing this. Well, this just doesn't work. You could also say, why don't you use unbound speed and just go as fast as possible, and then just use game time, and this also doesn't work. So yeah, here's the reason. At 1 times speed, game time is equal to real time minus the time you spend resetting. At 2 times speed, the calculation should be the same, but it's actually missing a factor. When you increase the speed of the game, you don't also increase your speed of cognitive processing and input. This means that at high multiples of game speed, there are larger and larger time bleeds that occur due to perception and interaction. I think that 4 times game speed balances this nicely, bleeding only a small amount of time, while speeding up higher bleeds significantly more. 1 second thinking at 8 times speed, for instance, is 8 seconds of game time. So using game time as a metric when you're using unbounded speed doesn't make any sense. It completely messes this metric up, because there's no way to determine what the time bleed was. It's a moving variable. Obviously, if the game is moving at different speeds in different segments with different Pokemon, then there's no way to compare the results anymore. So for accurate testing, we need a consistent game speed multiple that doesn't change. It has to be fixed. That way our game time and real time are always related to each other by subtracting out the time spent resetting. So that leads me here, where I'm reflecting on my life as I spam out Teleport and knock out Metapods with Struggle. So yeah, this is where I'm at. I logically can't do anything else if I want to have consistent results. While I was doing this monotonous training, I realized that Abra can actually teleport back from Viridian Forest to Pewter City to potentially save time, but honestly the route is so short to walk anyways that I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things. On 1 times speed it would probably save time, but on 4 times speed going through the menu is actually a lot slower than just walking, so I'm not sure if it's actually going to save any time. If you see me teleporting back, then yeah, I'm just trying to be more efficient, and if you see me walking back, I've like resigned to my fate and just been like, whatever, I'm not even going to try, like, it's 1 extra second, this thing's going to take 2 hours anyways, At level 19, I attempt Brock again to see how Abra is going to do. Turns out, it looks like this is going to be the level that I can knock the Geodude out. I take it down and I have 4 hit points remaining. Onyx comes out and it knocks Abra out. And then I accidentally reset instead of just taking the experience. I have so much muscle memory from every time I faint. Well, I've got to defeat the Geodude again, I guess, to get the experience. And I tried. But it turns out that my previous fight was actually quite lucky. I reset and I attempt again, and then I end up failing 3 more times. So yeah, I guess I have to go and train more before doing this. I'm really sad that I reset there. Okay, so just look at the YouTube time code, look at my clock, let's reflect on time. Abra has passed the Brock split that Tangela got. It has now earned itself the prestigious award for the slowest Brock split that I've had so far. At level 20, I can finally defeat Geodude and earn myself 183 experience points. And then I really thought about this. Does this type of training really yield faster completion time? Well, it's hard to know. If I only knock out Metapod in the forest, then there's a lot of RNG because I could exclusively see Metapod, or I could see no Metapod at all. Geodude is consistent, but at this level, I actually don't think Abra is gaining as much experience as if it just knocked out level 4 and level 6 Metapods. The level 4s give 41 experience, and the level 6s give 61 experience. I usually have enough health remaining after taking out some of them to knock out an additional level 3 Caterpie for 22 experience. With this strategy, I'm getting just over 200 experience each time I fully deplete Teleport. That's not a big improvement over Brock's Geodude, but I'll take whatever I can get right now. Also, since I'm facing so many encounter heroes searching for Metapods, I run into the occasional level 9 Pidgeotto. These are great because they provide 145 experience if I'm able to knock them out. Doing this, it takes me over an hour of real time to level Abra up to level 24. I spam out the PP from Teleport and then make my way back to Brock. Please let this be good enough. Geodude is first. Abra gets a critical hit for 1/3. Geodude's dealing 4 damage a hit. With a single critical hit, Abra only needs 5 turns to get the KO. I'm moving on to Onyx with just over half health. Struggle appears to be dealing more than 1 damage. Onyx starts off with Bide, and unfortunately it's a 3-turn Bide and Abra gets a crit along the way, increasing the amount of damage that was accumulated. Brock's Rock Hard Snake unleashes its pent-up energy and Abra faints. Maybe if I get better luck against Onyx I can do it. I could get a 2-turn Bide, or I could spam Screech for instance, but the next fight doesn't go well though. I arrive at Onyx with less than half health, and I realize that it can also use Bind, which is going to make Abra's life awful. I lose, and I decide that training is probably still the best answer for now. I plan out my experience so that Abra levels up to level 25 when Geodude gets knocked out. This gives it a boost to its HP moving into the Onyx fight. I'm reliably making it now to Onyx with around 29 hit points, but this just isn't quite good enough. However, since Tackle's only 95% accurate, that means that Geodude is going to miss at some point, and then I'll get to Onyx with more health as a result. It took a while for this to finally pan out. On my 11th fight searching for the miss, it finally happens. Abra levels up, and I've reached Onyx with 33 hit points. Funnily enough though, I got to Onyx with 32 hit points before, just by Abra landing critical hits. So yeah, that's unfortunate. This is possible through critical hits because of how recoil damage is rounded. So yeah, despite searching for so long for the miss, it isn't actually a substantial improvement and Abra goes down again. Back to training. Perhaps if I start the fight at level 25, Abra will have enough defense to take less damage from Geodude's tackle. Or maybe enough attack to do more than 1 damage to his Pokemon. Unfortunately, Geodude's still a 5-hit and Abra's still taking 4 damage from each turn of tackle. I arrive at Onyx with 31 hit points, and then Abra decides to impress. I take Onyx all the way down to red health, but it still ends in defeat. Maybe resetting at this level is just gonna work. I think that victory might be within reach now. Geodude and Abra trade blows again with Tackle and Struggle, and a similar scenario plays out again. 5 turns of damage, and Abra knocks the Geodude out with 31 hit points remaining for Onyx. It uses Screech, Abra gets a crit, and then Onyx tackles. It misses again, tackles again, taking Abra all the way down to 11 hit points. And then it uses Bide. With the amount of damage that Abra's Struggle is doing, I won't be able to KO it even with 3 turns. And then I get a critical hit. Okay, please not a 2-turn Bide. Onyx keeps accumulating energy. I could get a Gen 1 miss, I guess, with Struggle. Please actually hit. It does, and Abra's finally done it. After nearly 3 hours, I have defeated Brock. So now, let's compare Abra to the Pokemon that's performed worst in this split previously, Tangela. It defeated the champion in 2 hours, 53 minutes, and 54 seconds. Abra's Brock split alone is only 1 minute and 47 seconds faster than Tangela's finish time. So now I've experienced the pain of the Brock split, but the remaining question is how fast can Abra complete the rest of the game? Unfortunately, there's still a problem. Until I get to Mount Moon, I have to continue to use Struggle. Well, unless I use Bide, and no, I do not think that that's a good idea. Selling it and using the money to buy more potions is probably a much more consistent way to get through Route 3. I save before the first bug catcher, just in case. After all, he has 3 Pokemon and the Weedle could poison me. If he poisons me, I might blackout walking back to the mart to buy an antidote. I was also worried that his team of 3 would cause too much recoil damage and that Abra might faint. However, neither of these doomsday scenarios play out. I heal with potions and I face the next trainer. Here I was worried about Ekans. It has Wrap after all, but Abra crits it and that makes it faint. After this fight, I once again use my final potions. Today I face the last because she only has 2 Pokemon, plus after she's defeated I have to walk back to Pewter City anyways to buy more potions with the money that I've earned. Well, potion. Of course I only have enough to buy 1. I stock up on 2 antidotes for the rest of the playthrough, and then I make my way through the final mandatory trainer on the route. He has 2 bugs and Abra manages them easily. Finally, Mount Moon. This place is my savior. I'm not going to have to use Struggle anymore. I do really wish that Abra learnt Water Gun so that I could utilize its awesome special stat now. After all, it has better special than many fully evolved Pokemon. Still, I shouldn't complain because Mega Punch is a big upgrade. That is a huge understatement. Even with it, Abra's low attack stat still makes most of the Pokemon here 2 hits. Lack of accuracy in combination with 2 hit ranges makes PP a limiting factor now. Before there was too much PP, and now there's too little. It's really frustrating. Abra cuts it close with the fight against Jesse and James, only having 2 uses of Mega Punch left when I finally defeat them. I'm just glad that I didn't have to backtrack all the way through this awful cave without repels. And with that, I'm in Cerulean. Whoa, like that feels so surreal to say. I can't believe that I actually made it here. It's been so long. Anyways, in Cerulean, I grab a couple repels and potions from the mart, I heal, I find the rare candy, and then I face the rival, saving in front of him, as I always do. Actually, throughout this playthrough, I have literally saved in front of every single trainer so far. I just don't believe in Abra yet. Here, I was worried that Spearow was going to use Growl and ruin the fight on turn 1, but instead it uses Leer, that badge boosts my attack stat, and I knock it out. Sandshrew takes a third from Mega Punch, it scratches, and then Abra crits, knocking it out. Rattata time. Mega Punch isn't quite enough, and then Abra gets hit with Hyper Fang. That did so much damage, and as a result, I'm not confident against the Eevee that follows. Especially when Abra misses and gets taken to 14 hit points by Tackle. Turn 2, Abra misses again. Just great, I hate Mega Punch. Okay, don't complain, it's better than Struggle. And Eevee uses Tail Whip. Third turn, Abra's Mega Punch finally connects, gets a critical hit, but Eevee survives. It uses Sand Attack, and luckily Abra doesn't miss. I've won. It's time for a first now, and this is very satisfying. I don't actually have to save in front of every trainer on Nugget Bridge. Feels so good. Abra can manage them with Mega Punch. Unfortunately, it isn't strong enough to complete the entire route without healing. I have to head back and heal before facing the mandatory hiker. I want to grab the TM for Seismic Toss too to give Abra another damage dealing move that's more accurate than Mega Punch. To do this, I need to defeat the optional hiker that has 3 Geodudes. I backtrack, heal, and even then I was worried that Mega Punch might not be able to do it. The rock types here no defense curl after all, but Abra's crit rate is the saving grace, and I'm able to win. I defeat the junior trainer, grab Seismic Toss, and now I have to decide what's next. Because Abra has excellent special and Seismic Toss guarantees damage despite defense boosts, I think that Misty is actually going to be manageable. Abra's very fast, allowing it to move first against Staryu. Unfortunately, it misses. Twice. I really should have used Seismic Toss. Mega Punch eventually connects, does just over half, and then I defeat the Starfish. Starmie's next. Turn 1, I use Thunder Wave, it prevents an attack, and Seismic Toss does half. Abra is hit with Bubble Beam, shrugs it off, and knocks Starmie out. That's an easy gym, and it feels so good in contrast with what came before. Still, Abra's move pool in this generation is very limited. It doesn't learn Bubble Beam or Dig. I guess it makes sense that it doesn't learn those two, but it does learn Body Slam, and that's coming up on the SSN. That is, if I can ever get there. The last with 3 Pidgeys gets so many sand attacks set up, I just can't hit these birds. Abra faints. Luckily, I saved before the rocket, so I have to do this small portion of the game again. Honestly though, this time waste and reset are just like a small drop of water in a giant sea of awfulness. I proceed past her annoying Pidgeys on my next attempt, I grab Rest, and then I teach Abra Body Slam. Now, I have to make a choice. Face Surge, or skip him and head to Rock Tunnel. Raichu has Mega Kick and Mega Punch, and it's fast. I don't think that Abra can survive a crit from those powerful physical moves. and I'm starting to realize that I'm not that over-leveled anymore. If I skip him, I'll have to backtrack later on through Saffron City, but when I do this, I could pick up Psychic and just use that against him. So I think that probably was the best play. However, against all reason, because I was thinking these things in the moment, I decide to try for victory now anyways. Abra moves first, allowing it to set up Thunder Wave, turn 1, cutting Raichu's speed and consistency. Surge uses X speed. This undoes the speed drop from Paralysis and actually allows Raichu to move first with Mega Punch on the next turn. It does almost half. Abra's Body Slam does a quarter, Raichu fails a Growl, Abra Body Slams again, Raichu misses a Mega Punch, and then I try Seismic Toss. So that did more than Body Slam. I just need one more hit. Raichu uses Growl, and with that I've earned the Thunder Badge, albeit in a pretty lucky fight. I'm so close to being home free with this little Psychic type now, but there are a few challenging trainers to defeat first. The Wrapping Lass could be a problem if I get hit with the first Oddish's Stun Spore, that way Bellsprout could trap me in endless wraps. However, Body Slam paralyzes Oddish, it fails to move, and then Abra is safe for now. Body Slam doesn't quite knock the Bellsprout out, it tries Sleep Powder, misses, and I finish it. One more Oddish to defeat. No Paralysis this time, she just chooses Absorb instead. Okay, whatever, the Oddish goes down. The final Bellsprout fails Poison Powder and faints. With her defeated, there's only one more trainer to worry about before Abra gets Psychic. I'm pretty sure if you know this game, you can guess who it is. It's the hiker with his team of self-destructing Pokemon. The only option Abra has against him is Seismic Toss. At this level, Abra can't one-hit any of his Pokemon with it, but it can two-hit the Geodudes. Before it gets a chance though, the second one blows up and does so much. Okay, Graveler, please just don't knock Abra out. It uses Tackle, Abra survives, and yeah, I win. This victory felt so good. I think now Abra is pretty much home free. I head to Celadon, grab a PP up, buy some items, sell some items, forget some items, go back, and then catch a Doduo. After all that, I give a guard a drink, gain access to Saffron City, and obtain TM29. And with it, I teach Abra Psychic, its first and only special move. I'm gonna let my footage play now of Pokemon Tower because I need a victory lap. After the absolute slog that the early game has been, it's so satisfying being able to just one-shot everything in sight. The entire Rivals team faints to one use of Psychic each. The Ghastly line is weak to Psychic, so I plow through the Chandler with ease. You'll also notice that I'm not facing any additional trainers. With a special stat like this, and a speed stat to back it up, I'm quite confident that Abra's going to be able to get through most of the game with minimal additional training. I obtain the Pokeflute, head down Cycling Road, through the Savari Zone, feeding Abra vitamins as I go, and then I dig back to Celadon. Next, I'm going to face Erica. To save time, I only face the mandatory trainer with the Execute. Erica opens with Tangela. I have Abra use Psychic, it gets a crit, and Tangela faints. So that was really good. Weepinbell's a part poison type, so it doesn't stand a chance, and Abra also finishes the slightly bulkier Gloom off in one hit. Next, I head to Koga's gym. Abra has a type advantage here. Well, once I get past the mandatory jugglers, that is. The fights against them are slow. So slow. This actually gives me flashbacks to when I was a kid. I was basically doing a solo Butterfree playthrough back then with Confusion, Psybeam, Tackle, and Sleep Powder. So yeah, these fights were a grind. Conveniently, against the final juggler, Abra gets poisoned, and this is probably going to help against Koga to avoid sleep statuses. He leads with Venonat. Psychic's super effective here, and it knocks the first one out. Abra crits the second one. I wasn't sure if I could defeat the third one as well, but I do. Now it's Venomoth time. This dark bug type actually has a bug move, and it's one of two Pokemon in the game that does. With good AI, Koga's gonna use it. Abra isn't fast enough here, Leech Life hits, and Abra faints because of a critical hit. Okay, maybe without that crit I can live? I try again, sweep through the Venonats, and make it back to the Moth. It again moves first, uses Leech Life, and gets another critical hit. But Abra has had enough. It survives with 2 hit points, uses Psychic, and Venomoth faints. Abra did get a critical hit there, so that was lucky. I probably should have made that a bit easier by leveling up so that Abra had more than 103 speed. Either way, I'm going to take the victory and move on. Next, I head to Cinnabar Island and I go through Pokemon Mansion. I feed Abra vitamins and then head back to Sylph. I only defeat the mandatory trainers here, plus the optional trainer that allows me to obtain the Carbos and the Rare Candy. Then I face the rival. Sandslash is first. Psychic doesn't knock it out, Slash connects, and it does so much. I make it to the Magneton, but it knocks Abra out with Tackle. Here are my choices as to where to go next, because I'm probably not going to be able to win this fight. I can face Blaine, train in Blaine's gym, train in Sylph, or train in the dojo. I could also use rare candies, but because Abra is a first stage Pokemon, it seems a bit premature to do that right now, especially in yellow version. I don't have a type advantage in Blaine's gym, and because of that, I decided the best choice is to train in the dojo and then reattempt the rival at level 42 to see if I have the KO range on Sandslash. Unfortunately, it still survives, but it uses Swift instead of Slash, so Abra has green health for the Magneton. Psychic does more than half, Magneton misses Supersonic, and Abra's moving on to Ninetales. At 120 special, my small Psychic Fox has no problem shrugging off Ember and knocking the Firefox out. Kadabra's next. I'm not worried here because I resist its attacks, and it spams recover over and over until I knock it out. Vaporeon is last. Psychic does a bit more than 1/3, it uses Bite, Abra survives, but it won't survive another one of those. I try Psychic again, get a special drop, Vaporeon uses Aurora Beam, that's really convenient timing, only doing 12 damage, and with that I've won. Giovanni's next, and he's a series of one-hits with Psychic. After that I head to Celadon, buy some vitamins, and now I'll try Blaine. The rough thing about this fight is that his Pokemon have strong special moves in the form of Flamethrower, Fire Spin, and Fire Blast, but they also have great physical moves and good attack stats. Takedown, Stomp, and Quick Attack are all threats. The last one isn't particularly bad, but after Ninetales uses Tail Whip, it can be scary, especially when Abra's defense stat is so bad. I end up losing 3 times here. Well, all the trainers in Blaine's gym are still available and convenient to battle, so I grind against all of them, bringing Abra up 3 levels. But even here, it's still struggling against Blaine. So I'm going to train a little bit more. Another area that I have a type advantage in, it's a strange type advantage, is in Sabrina's gym against the Chandler. I knock their ghost Pokemon out, and then I decide that I should probably try to face the leader here anyways. Sabrina opens with Abra. Mine's significantly better though because it's been through hell and back and learned a few things on the way. Unfortunately, hers survives Body Slam, but she uses an X-Defend, so I move on with my accuracy intact. Kadabra really isn't taking much damage, but it's also not doing that much to me. I knock it out, and Alakazam's last. Turn 1, it uses Psychic, and what? That did so much! Oh, okay, it was a critical hit. That makes sense, I guess. It doesn't get a crit with its second Psychic though, and Abra finishes it off. Today, being spoonless is apparently better than being spoonful. Actually, that's not true though. Look at the clock. It's really not true. I head back to Blaine. I hope that I can defeat him without having to do more training. Thunder Wave first turn prevents Ninetales' attack. Psychic causes a special drop. Ninetales is paralyzed, and then Abra knocks it out. 1 down. I paralyze Rapidash, but it still gets a stomp in, doing half damage to Abra. But then Psychic gets a crit and one-shots the Flaming Horse. Blaine's ace Arcanine is last. Thunder Wave prevents its first attack. Psychic lowers its special. It connects with Flamethrower, burns Abra, but my next Psychic seals the deal. All that's left is Giovanni. I move first against Dugtrio, it survives, tries Fissure, but that can't hit me since I'm faster. Persian's next. It fails Screech, and I knock it out over 2 turns. And that's that. Super effective Psychic is enough to sweep both of his Nidos, and it also takes the Rhydon down. Something about a tiny Abra beating Nidoqueen, Nidoking, and Rhydon is just like so strange, but it also makes me so happy. Now there's only one more fight before the league. The rival's lead is Sandslash. It survives Psychic, misses Fury Swipes, and goes down. Execute's next. I wasn't sure what to do against it since my special is so high and I get stabbed, so I choose Psychic. It does half, the eggs poison Abra, and then they faint. I guess they're actually seeds, sorry about that. Magneton confuses Abra before fainting, confusion causes self-inflicted damage against the Ninetales, and then my defense gets dropped twice before Kadabra. I wasn't particularly scared here. I brought Rest into this fight specifically because Kadabra provides an opportunity to heal before Vaporeon. However, when it starts attacking, it's doing a lot more than I expected, so I knock it out right away. Now, his ace has so much special and so much HP. It's going to be a long fight. I paralyze it first turn. It misses Hydro Pump, and then I heal with Rest. Next, it's paralyzed, and then conveniently it wakes Abra up with Haze. Thanks so much. Despite it saying that all statuses are healed, Vaporeon actually remains paralyzed, and then I finish it off. Abra has finally arrived at the league. It's been a long road. Well, defeating Brock was a long road. After him, I've spent less than an hour beating the rest of the game to this point. But how will the league be? Can Abra do it? Let's find out. Lorelei's first, and for her, Mimic is going to help a lot. I let go of Thunder Wave to make space for it. Against Dugong, I just need to be able to put out enough damage so that I can knock it out even when it's using Rest. Looks like that shouldn't be an issue though. Psychic's doing almost half. I was worried here that it might use Takedown, but my second Psychic triggers a potion and then the Snoozy Seal faints. Cloister's next, and it should be manageable with Psychic. I do more than half, it lowers the enemy's special, Cloister uses Supersonic, confusing Abra. I get the KO, but now I'm confused trying to mimic Amnesia. I really don't like this. I get it first turn, Slowbro uses Surf, does decent damage, Abra hits itself, Slowbro uses Withdraw, I get my first Amnesia up, and then I barely survive a Surf. Now it's time to heal with Rest. Okay, I think I'm in the clear, I wake up, finish my setup, and then a not very effective Psychic one-hits Slowbro. I guess that's what Abra can do with 679 special. Jinx obviously falls to a single hit as well, but will Lapras? The answer is yes it will. Now the Hiker is next, and I'm kind of realizing that this video probably isn't long enough. My normal videos are about this length, and I didn't spend 3 hours defeating Brock in those playthroughs, so I should probably just show this footage to pad out the length, that sort of thing. Yeah, anyways, it doesn't last too long because his team members all get one shot by Psychic. Agatha follows, and honestly, she's not very much of a threat to Abra either. Psychic type is just great here. It's immune to ghost attacks, it resists Dream Eater, and I know Mimic. I can set up Substitute, and from safety, I can use Psychic to be super effective against her entire team. I was a bit worried that I might not have enough PP to win, but the 3 PP ups I used are more than enough, and I defeat the final Gengar with a critical hit. So far, the league has been incredibly easy. And could that continue against Lance? Blocking my way is his lead Gyarados. It knows Hyper Beam, and that's going to shred Abra. However, it uses Dragon Rage, and then misses its beam. Abra finishes it off. Dragonair's next. Psychic doesn't one-hit it, Lance uses a Hyper Potion, Dragonair slams, taking Abra into low orange health before going down. Now, I have to risk it. I mimic Ice Beam. Dragonair misses Wrap, and now I should be able to sweep. Unless Aerodactyl outspeeds... that's frustrating. It does have 170 speed after all. The great thing here is that I haven't used a single rare candy yet. I used enough to take Abra to level 59, now I've got 173 speed. Looks like at this level, I'm still not able to 2-hit the Gyarados. Because of this, I sustain a lot of damage and the second Dragonair knocks Abra out with Wrap. In the next fight, I realize that Gyarados can go down in 2 hits now. It's just a roll with Psychic. With full health, I knock out the first Dragonair, and this gives me a lot of wiggle room to mimic Ice Beam. Dragonair misses Hyper Beam, and then I sweep. Dragonair, Aerodactyl, and Dragonite are all one-hits for Abra. All that's left now is the champion. Abra might do this in under 4 hours. It's doesn't seem like much of an achievement, but it feels really good, especially with how long Brock took. Psychic doesn't knock the Sandslash out, and it retaliates, doing massive damage with Slash. That leaves Abra with only 5 hit points left. I can't one-hit the Alakazam, so Abra goes down. In the next fight, I get a critical hit and I one-shot the Sandslash. I use Body Slam on Alakazam, and then it gets a critical hit with Psybeam, doing 1/3 to me. There is a turn of back and forth with Recover and Body Slam, then Alakazam uses Psybeam, Abra takes very little damage, and just before I knock it out, my accuracy is lowered with Kinesis. Just great. At Executor, things get really annoying. I have to heal, it uses Leech Seed, and now I'm being drained. Plus, Stomp is doing so much damage because Abra's defense stat is paper thin. I try mimicking Hypnosis, but Kinesis makes it miss so many times, and that's another loss. I really want to squeeze in under 4 hours if I can, so I use my remaining 7 rare candies and I come back at level 67. Psychic one-hits Sandslash now without a crit. I crit Alakazam and paralyze it with Body Slam, so I'm moving on to Executor in a fantastic position. I use Body Slam hoping for paralysis, but I don't get it and I have to heal with Rest. Just as Abra is about to knock the Executor out, but lives up to his name and uses a full restore. So that's annoying, the fight continues. I heal, strike back with Psychic, it does a lot of damage actually, and it 3-hits Executor, so sweet. Ninetales is next. I only need 2 Psychics for it, and for the following Magneton. but Abra's only got 35 hit points remaining when Vaporeon comes out. I start with Rest so that I can heal, Leech Seed and Hydro Pump take Abra down to half health, Vaporeon uses another Hydro Pump, and now it's all up to luck. I wake up, take Leech Seed damage, survive at 4 hit points, and then Vaporeon uses Mist. Okay, that's perfect. Rest heals, Aurora Beam lowers my attack, actually boosting my special, but I still end up having to heal. That gives Vaporeon all the time it needs to get a critical hit with Hydro Pump and finish Abra off. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to let go of the 4-hour finish. As a result, in the next fight I got a bit impatient and I tried to use Hypnosis one too many times against Executor, whoops. So I need a solution for these bulky Pokemon that doesn't require Abra to heal so much. There's an answer. I can use Toxic. I find this so funny. I one-hit the Sandslash with Psychic, take Alakazam out with Body Slam, use Toxic against Executor and then heal. After that, Psychic manages Ninetales and Magneton, and Vaporeon is last. Here, Toxic works so well. Now, when I heal, it takes increasing damage every turn. I knock it out, and Abra clocks in with a time of 4 hours, 2 minutes, and 46 seconds. It finished the game at level 68, unfortunate, with 79 resets and blackouts, and a game time of 13 hours and 50 minutes. To release the frustration of this playthrough, especially the first portion of it, I get to have a nice relaxing fight against Mewtwo now. I use Toxic turn 1 to try and put a timer on the fight, but it misses, and Mewtwo uses Swift, which deals a lot of damage. I use Psychic, it does more damage than I expected, causing a special drop as well, and that's what I was hoping for. My next Psychic takes Mewtwo into the orange, and also lowers its special again. I use Rest, I'll survive in the case of a crit from Swift, and then Mewtwo uses Recover, buying some time. It uses Psychic, dealing 1/4, and finally it goes for Swift, taking Abra back into the orange. But speed is on my side. And that's it. First attempt, Abra defeats Mewtwo. This spoonless golden fox put in so much work, and now I think it deserves a spoon as a reward. If we subtract the time it took Abra to defeat Brock from its total time, it only took an hour and 10 minutes to finish the rest of the game. That is an incredibly fast first stage Pokemon result. So much so that I think Abra might actually be the fastest first stage Pokemon if it just got an attacking move at the start. I debated if I wanted to test here like I regularly do. The reason I play multiple attempts and do all these tests in most of my videos is that I really just want to see how all these Pokemon stack up against each other. But in this case, I actually don't think I need to do that. Abra isn't even anywhere close to any of the other Pokemon. If I optimized its time and shaved off, say, half an hour or even 45 minutes, well, it still wouldn't get anywhere close to any of the other Pokemon's times. So yeah, Abra deserves its spot at the bottom of the tier list. It is, by far, the worst Pokemon that I have used in Pokemon Yellow to date. Here's the thing, though. Yeah, this is one of my videos. Abra has fantastic stats. Its level up learn set is really the only thing that holds it back. So, JRose11 recently completed the Elite Four in Pokemon Red with a team of only level 5 Pokemon. And in this video, he used learn sets featuring moves that could only be obtained by transferring a Pokemon back from Generation 2 using the time capsule. I found myself wondering how well Abra might do if it had access to some of these moves. After all, here's the list. Barrier, Dream Eater, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Light Screen, and Thunder Punch. This thing is a beast in Generation 2. So theoretically, a player could transfer their level 5 Abra to Generation 2, over in that game, teach it Psychic, Ice Punch, Fire Punch, and Thunder Punch by TM, and transfer it back, and then play through the entirety of Pokemon Yellow version with it. So yeah, what do you think I did? Of course I did it! Well, sort of. I didn't actually have another game to play on, so I just used a software called GameHook to edit my Abra's moveset. I know that technically I should lose in the lab with Teleport only and then update my moveset when I obtain the Pokedex and gain access to the ability to trade Pokemon, but I'm just doing this for fun, so I figured that I'll just start with the Gen 2 Abra. In Viridian Forest, I only battled one of the bug catchers before the mandatory one, and doing this took Abra all the way up to level 9 before Brock. Now, it is time for my revenge. Ice Punch one-hits Geodude, and it one-hits Onyx. This is how a Pokemon with 105 base special should be against Brock. Okay, I don't anticipate any issues with Abra for the next little bit, so I skip all the optional trainers in Mount Moon. It's time for the second rival. Ice Punch one-hits Spearow, it one-hits Sandshrew, Psychic one-hits Rattata, and with a crit, Eevee goes down to a single hit as well. As I approached Bill's house, a decision had to be made. Do I fight Misty or do I head south and level up a bit more? Abra is actually speed tied with Starmie right now, and a critical hit from Tackle might knock it out. The combination of Thunder Punch and Abra's special stat should be enough though. I'll just try and hope that I outspeed. Star use first, Thunder Punch connects, crits, and knocks the water type out. Starmie time. It uses Harden, which is honestly useless. Thunder Punch does more than half. Misty uses a useless X defend, and Abra wins. So this is going well. Now I want to reflect on something. This trade in Abra got a 3-minute and 20-second Brock split and a 10-minute and 18-second Misty split. Those are the fastest splits of any Pokemon in these two categories. If we added in a little bit of time for the loss in the lab and the trade-in from the time capsule, Hitmonlee and Clefable would still be faster, but for a first stage Pokemon, Abra is going incredibly fast. It's very impressive. I forget to heal before Surge, Psychic doesn't 2-hit Raichu, and Mega Punch takes Abra out. So that's my first reset. I try again, Mega Punch, then Mega Kick. That's the second reset. Raichu growls, uses Thunderbolt, and Abra's second Psychic knocks it out. So I guess it's a roll, and I just got a bad one in the first 2 fights. I probably should have healed, but even if I did, I'm not sure that it would have mattered. I'm mostly just gambling that Surge won't use Mega Kick or Mega Punch and that he won't get a crit. Perhaps Ice Punch and the chance to freeze might have just made things a little bit more consistent. Either way, I'm not concerned, I'm moving on. The diversity of my learn set now is all that I need for the gauntlet between Cerulean and Lavender Town. Well, actually it's just an answer for everything. The rival is easy in Pokemon Tower despite Abra not being overleveled. Since Viridian Forest I haven't actually fought a single trainer that wasn't mandatory. That makes me think that this is probably actually possible with minimum battles. Erica's next. She opens with Tangela, Ice Punch does more than half, Abra shrugs off Vine Whip and takes the grass type down. Weepinbell gets frozen, making it a free KO, and Gloom is last. Ice Punch does 2/3, Gloom uses Acid, gets a critical hit, and does so much. But Abra hangs on and finishes the fight. Next, I'm heading to Koga's gym. I think that I can do it very underleveled because of my typing. One nuisance here are the jugglers. These guys are so annoying. Oh well. Oh, and that Drowsy got a big critical hit. Hypno's next. Maybe it'll just spam Disable and Poison Gas. Okay. I guess not. That's another reset. I take care of him on my next fight, and then I go up against Koga. Venonat 1, Venonat 2, and Venonat 3 are all 1-hits with Psychic. Venomoth has 103 speed, so it's going to move first, and Koga has good AI, so he chooses Leech Life. It does massive damage, as we saw before, but Abra survives this time. Psychic hits, Venomoth survives, but it has its special lowered. Now, there is a chance that Koga uses an X attack. Unfortunately, he doesn't, and Abra faints. I tried again, but it plays out exactly the same way. I'm just betting that Koga's going to use an X attack, and that doesn't really feel good. If I just go and level up, I'll come back and it'll be a really easy fight. At the end of my training, I fight the rival in Sylph. Ice Punch freezes Sandslash, Thunder Punch 2-hits Cloyster, Magneton confuses Abra, but it doesn't prevent my second attack, and with that, Kadabra's next. It has the most potential to be annoying with Recover. Abra damages itself, snaps out of confusion the next turn, but uses a potion, and I knock his Psychic type out. Flareon is last. Psychic's disabled, so I use Ice Punch. It doesn't do that much. Just remember, in Generation 1, Fire types don't resist Ice type moves, by the way. After my second attack, Abra gets hit with Sand Attack, preventing my third hit. Flareon uses Ember for a little, Ice Punch misses again, and the Fire Doggo gets a critical hit with Bite. Abra survives, with 2 hit points. However, it misses Psychic, and then it just faints to Fire Spin. Abra can do this, I know it can. It just needs slightly better luck against Flareon. I get it in the next battle, and with that I finish off Sylph. I stop by the department store and give Abra some calcium. After that I head back to Koga. Now I outspeed all of his Pokemon, and it's a clean sweep. Well, except for the Venomoth. It survives on red, Koga uses an X attack. Just what I was waiting for previously. And then Abra's done it. At this point in the playthrough, I realized something. Fire Punch has been essentially useless. Ice Punch and Psychic cover almost everything that Fire Punch is going to be useful against. One of Abra's key weaknesses, though, is how frail it is against physical hits. You can see this in my second battle against Blaine, where Rapidash knocks Abra out with a single stomp. I use all my rare candies here as a result in order to overcome Blaine, but I would have much preferred to save them for later on. Instead, I think that maybe bringing in Abra with Barrier instead of Fire Punch would have solved the problem that is physical attackers. In this case for Blaine, I have to be at the higher level, and he has to make some awful move choices with Arcanine. Finally with that, Abra is able to proceed. Sabrina's annoying. I could learn a physical move, but Abra's special is almost 3 times its attack stat. In retrospect, removing Fire Punch for Body Slam might have been a good choice. I don't know. Anyways, it might have at least helped avoid her frustrating flash strategy at the start of the fight. I lose 2 times because of it. However, since I'm using Ice Punch so much, I'm gonna freeze eventually, and in the 3rd fight, I get it, allowing me to knock Alakazam out. Giovanni only actually has 1 team member that can survive a hit from Abra. It's Persian. Slash and Fury Swipes could end the battle, but it uses Screech, and that's that. Psychic 1 hits both of the Nidos, and Ice Punch knocks out Rhydon. Now, I debated not putting this footage in, but I think it's important. Look at the clock. 45 minutes! Abra is on pace to clock in alongside Hitmonlee and Clefable. I think that it's obvious why the designers chose to only give it Teleport. With attacks, this little thing is just too powerful. The interesting thing here, though, is that Abra has been one-hitting so many of its opponents just because of its incredible moveset and stats. So much so that I'm not actually sure how much faster Alakazam would be, even if it had the same moveset. After all, you can't make it through a fight faster than one-hitting all the opponent's Pokemon. Maybe it would get less resets because it's more consistent, it's faster, it's a bit more bulky, but I don't think that the difference would be that much. But the 4 strongest trainers in the game are next. How will this Abra do? I debated teaching Abra Mimic in the place of Fire Punch for Lorelei, however I decided to just try it with Thunder Punch and see if I could get the job done. After all, mimicking Amnesia and setting up takes time, and why would I set up if I have a beast like this Abra? Look at this thing. It just tears through her team. Up next is a waste of time, and then there's another waste of time following that, and then apparently there's another waste of time right after that. So yeah, what is this? Abra is going into the first battle against the champion just under 52 minutes. I'm honestly shocked. I use Ice Punch on Sandslash for the KO, more like the K-No. It survives, hits Earthquake, and Abra faints. So that's probably a roll. Yep, it is. Ice Punch knocks it out in the next fight. Alakazam hits me with Psychic, it lowers my special, that's really annoying. It gets a critical hit, even more annoying, and then uses Kinesis. Okay, that's the most annoying. As a result, I miss my Fire Punch against Executor, because of course I do, and Abra faints to a Stomp. Okay, pause. On the SSN, I skipped Rest, because I figured that this moveset would let me play exclusively on the offense. And now I'm starting to regret this. Okay, let's resume. To add more defensive options, I teach Abra Thunder Wave and Reflect. Yes, I bought this TM just in case, and I didn't get Rest. What was I doing? I really wanted to freeze Executor here. I didn't think I had enough health to set up Reflect and Thunder Wave. I don't get the status, and then Abra faints. Okay, so that's 3 losses so far. I'm starting to think that Abra might not finish under an hour. Instead, I can paralyze Alakazam, set up Reflect here, and then knock it out. I'm using Psychic here to try to decrease its damage output with special drops. Luck's also on my side during this fight because I avoid Kinesis twice. I paralyze Executor right away. Unfortunately, it still uses Leech Seed, and then it faints to 3 Ice Punches. Psychic crits Magneton. I don't have Thunder Punch for Cloyster anymore, but Psychic's doing more than half. However, Spike Cannon puts in a lot of damage. Flareon comes out, uses Quick Attack, and Abra goes down. So what about Mimic instead of Reflect? I can steal Recover from Alakazam, and that gives Abra a good option for recovery. And then Executor crits. And now, are you ready for the pain? Sandslash survives. Magneton uses Thunder Wave, and Cloyster clamps. My special gets lowered, and I give up. Magneton's Screech boosts Flareon's Quick Attack, I accidentally mimic the wrong move, Sandslash survives and poisons, Leech Seed KOs. You think it's over? We're not even close. Thunderbolt KOs, Sandslash survives, I hate Kinesis, Executor stomps, Thunderbolt again, Kinesis twice, Thunder Wave, and then Thunderbolt? Okay, so I've lost 21 times against the champion now, and I was just getting a little bit annoyed. Now the wall is at the end of the game. Everything up to the champion was completely easy, and I just can't proceed. While I continue to lose, let me do a little bit of analysis. Every Pokemon on the champion's team represents a threat to Abra. Sandslash can survive and KO with Earthquake, Slash, or Fury Swipes. If Abra gets poisoned by Poison Sting, then recovery becomes more challenging for the rest of the fight, and multi-turn moves like Clamp are a death sentence. Alakazam is an issue because it can lower Abra's special with Psychic, confuse with Psybeam, or ruin accuracy with Kinesis. Making matters worse, it can also stall using recovery. Every move that it has is good. It's my best bet to just set up and risk the special and accuracy drops because Executor is next. Normally, its physical moves aren't that impactful, but today Stomp and Barrage do so much damage, especially if Reflect isn't set up. In addition, Leech Seed is also very annoying, especially when paired with something like Poison. Magneton has Thunderbolt and Thunder Wave, as well as Screech. Cloyster's the linchpin in many of the combos that earlier Pokemon have set up. You can use Clamp to maximize damage from Poison Sting or Leech Seed, or the combination of both. Spike Cannon is physical, so it does decent damage to Abra. And finally, if all of that hasn't finished me off, Flareon has Quick Attack to one-hit me with physical damage. So, I wanted to beat the game with an Abra very quickly, using incredibly overpowered moves that could be obtained from Generation 2. And now I've got myself into this situation. Is it possible? Well, that freeze on Alakazam is really nice. I can now Mimic Recover and set up Reflect for free. That also means that my special and my accuracy are intact moving on for the rest of the fight. By the way, you will have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that Reflect didn't actually change my stats. That's because this move multiplies your defense by 2 in the damage calculation when the opponent uses a physical move. It's not actually changing my stats or triggering the badge boost. Executor's next. I don't freeze it, Leech Seed gets set up, Reflect helps me tank Barrier, and I take the Grass type out. Magneton. Just please don't paralyze me and ruin the fight. Psychic lowers its special, it goes for Thunderbolt, taking Abra under half, and I finish it. I decide to heal at Cloyster to counter Flareon's Quick Attack, Psychic gets a special drop, Aurora Beam's damage is reduced as a result, Abra heals, Clamp misses, and Psychic finishes it. I have green health for Flareon. This is a first. Psychic does half, it lowers Flareon's special, and it uses Flamethrower, doing so little. And with a crit, Abra clocks in. 1 hour, 13 minutes, and 3 seconds. It finished the game at level 62 with 34 resets. The most impressive thing about all of this is that it finishes the game with a game time of 3 hours and 12 minutes. That is my fastest game time to date. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you'll know how I think. I want optimization and I want data. I also can't leave things unexplored. The only time that I do that is when I honestly don't think a strategy is going to work, or if the results would just be useless to have anyways. The comments that you leave are always helpful for me because I get to see the things that I miss when I'm making these videos, because honestly sometimes I just don't think of a strategy that some of you do. I had the idea of using Barrier a while ago, and I just couldn't leave this unexplored. If I did this with a real cartridge, this Abra would have to hatch in Gold and Silver and then be transferred into Yellow. And in that case, it would gain extra experience and make the run a lot easier. But I decided to just give Barrier to my Abra from the start and leave the experience unchanged. That way I could kind of compare this playthrough with the one that I had just previously done. For optimization, I used my rare candies instead of training before the Sylph rival. After that, Abra makes it all the way to Koga without a single reset. Things are really looking up. 3 1-hits on the Venonats, and then, yep, a critical hit Leech Life KOs. Funnily enough, it crits again in the next fight, but Abra survives. So, my first fight was just an extra unlucky roll. I thought that Barrier would help solve the fight against Blaine, but it's still inconsistent. I lost more times in this playthrough than in my previous playthrough, a total of 5 instead of 2. Since I used my rare candies earlier on, Abra's here at a lower level, and I think that's mostly responsible for its poor performance here. I lost once to Giovanni because of player error, like I really shouldn't be setting up Barrier against Persian, the Pokemon that always crits with Slash. And then things get weird at Lorelei. We all know that Dugong loves to rest, so I thought that this would be the perfect time to set up Barrier. However, I wasn't really thinking through things. Abra's a Psychic type, and this prevents Lorelei from using Rest as frequently. Yes, she still does use it, but not as much as she normally would. If I'm setting up, then I can take a lot of damage, and as a result, Abra faints. If I try to sweep with Thunder Punch, then I get to Jinx, and I can't knock it out with Abra, and Thrash gets me. I'm 4 levels lower than my last playthrough, and these levels really seem to matter. Without recovery, it's challenging to mimic Amnesia and set up on Slowbro, and all of this results in 6 resets for Abra before it finally wins. And then, I get punished really hard at Lance. I removed Thunder Punch to get Mimic for Lorelei, and without it, Gyarados is brutal. If I don't set up Barrier first turn, Hyper Beam KOs. If I do, I can't one-hit it, and then the damage stacks up quick. Loss after loss after loss. Making matters worse, Abra can't one-hit the Dragonairs at this level. On my 8th fight, I make it to Aerodactyl, but it's faster. This just felt hopeless, just as much as the champion did last time. But it is possible. Gyarados can use Leer, lowering Abra's defense, and Barrier restores some of this. By chaining these two together, assisted by a lot of luck, I can boost my speed and special through the powers of the badge boost glitch. This lets me outspeed Lance's entire team. I win on my 13th fight against him. But the real question is if Barrier will help against the champion. But as soon as Sandslash came out, I realized my mistake. I'm at a lower level, and I can't one-hit it now. But I did get a freeze. This incredible luck allows Abra to set up Barrier for free. Alakazam's next, I use Ice Punch hoping for another freeze, and I couldn't believe it. I froze again. That's a free Mimic on Recover, and this is the best possible start to the fight. Executor stomps and seeds, Magneton uses Swift, and Cloister faints over 2 turns. This time I move first against Flareon, I heal, and knock it out when I'm ready. Abra clocks in with a time of 55 minutes and 2 seconds, at level 58 with 25 resets. And an even better game time, 2 hours and 56 minutes. Now, I was convinced that this overpowered Generation 2 Abra could finish the game under 50 minutes, and achieve the fastest time that I've got yet in any playthrough. I did another playthrough and focused on training so that I could use my rare candies later. I actually kept Thunder Punch in this one for Lance, making a victory against him very easy. I went into the champion at just under 47 minutes on the clock, but once again, it was so frustrating. Alakazam just sets him up for success and ruins Abra's consistency with special and accuracy drops. It takes too many hits to knock it out, so really I'm hoping for like a freeze here or something like a crit. When I get one of these, I'm then set up to win the game. I did get my best real-time result with this final playthrough. Abra clocked in with 54 minutes and 9 seconds, only 8 resets. However, I did have to get many extra levels to do this, and that led to a game time of 3 hours and 5 minutes. Still a really good time, but not quite as good as before. I find it so amusing that Abra is the worst Pokemon in the entire tier list. At the same time, it has the potential to be a top-placing Pokemon. After all, with enough attempts, I know that Abra could clock in under 50 minutes. However, it is only fair to rank Abra based on its official playthrough when it started with Teleport, so it's stuck at the very bottom of the tier that we don't talk about. So there's been a lot of fun in this video, but just a bit more before I finish. I love playing Pokemon Yellow, so any excuse to do another battle is good for me. I had the question, how does Abra do against Professor Oak? I'm using the Abra from my first playthrough because that's the one native to Yellow. There's some time traveling here happening too because I used the save that I used before I defeated Mewtwo and evolved. Yeah, anyways. I make it past Tauros, but Executor's Stomp stops me in the first battle. Toxic helps against it in the next battle, and I can heal with Rest. I'm still asleep when Arcanine comes out. He chooses Ember, Abra survives, and I heal up. Psychic 2-shots the Doggo and Charizard's next. A critical hit knocks it out, and Gyarados is last. I use Psychic, it does half, and Hyper Beam finishes Abra. I need a solution for the physical moves, so I buy the TM for Reflect again and I teach it to Abra in the place of Body Slam. This way I can take less damage at Executor and Arcanine, but critical hits still exist and Arcanine gets one of them. And Charizard's always going to get them with Slash. However, it can also use Rage, and after that it's locked into it for the rest of the fight. Because of that, Abra's able to knock it out and it's Gyarados time. He uses Hydro Pump, which is a special move, Abra survives, and that's it. I've defeated Oak. Like, subscribe, ring the chime echo, and comment because I gotta read them all. Thanks so much to my patrons. Your support enables me to keep making this content, which is, by the way, my dream. Thanks for making it a reality. Now, if you made it this far, you're incredible. It's bloopers time. What is Word doing? I clicked on it 8 times, didn't do anything, then it scrolled down to the bottom page. Word is so weird. After that, the training is almost ready to begin. I completely deplete Abra's... Oh my gosh. I'm not doing a very good job. Maybe I'm not recording. That would be so funny. No, I'm recording. That's good. We've captured all of this awful. Struggle is doing enough to knock out each of these Caterpie in 3 pits. Oh my gosh. I get past the first one with above half. Oh. They're essentially speedruns now, and in this case, this speedrun is going at snail's pace. But the snail actually wasn't slow. By the way, I know that it isn't a snail. You can comment about it down. It's like a thing from the prehistoric ages. I don't remember the name right now, whatever. I lost where I was. I just went on that rant about Omastar. I was like, I don't know where I am at anymore. Oh dear. In order to prolong the duration... Oh my gosh. If Pyro uses Peck, great. Well, in this case, Potion, because I don't have enough money to buy more than one. Oh gosh. I wanted that line so bad, and then the burp was coming, and I was like, please no. And then it got me. Psychic doesn't knock the Sand Slash out. It uses Slash, doing massive damage. Great. At the end of all of my training, I fight the rival in Sylph. Ice Punch. Regis. Oh my gosh. She still does use it, because she has very strange AI on her Gugong. Oh my gosh. I use all my money to buy... In order to prolong the duration... Oh my gosh. Oh, my voice is not doing good. That's what happens when you go out with your fiance's parents and talk all day. Then you have to do like a 2-hour recording the next day. No!